If you think it's gyno, it's probably gyno. Bad inner chest gap. How do I fix this? And so he's doing a most muscular pose, and you see he doesn't really have the connections right exactly down here. It kind of goes off to the side. Notice my chest, I have a significant gap right here. That wasn't always the case. Now, you don't see it when I'm relaxed. When I flex, you can see it coming out. That was the result of me having a minor pec tear when I was a teenager, maxing out on the bench press. Maybe I was 14, 15, I don't remember. I was a teenager, maxing on the bench, and so that was a small tear. And so with this guy, essentially has something that looks similar to me, but all over the place. Now, remember, this is just genetic. These are genetic insertions, and there's nothing you can do about that. You cannot train and suddenly fill in those gaps. I've been doing chest training, bench testing, and so on for 38 years, and it's not suddenly going to move that and have it grow over here. You can't just train it and grow there. To the same extent, Chris Bumstead can't train and make his bicep come out further. You can't do a bunch of curls and have that muscle grow instead of stopping here, start there. That's just how it's going to look. Now, you can, of course, make it bigger. For example, his chest could add 2 inches of thickness and be much deeper out. But in the end, he's never going to have that fullness in between. It's analogous to females who get breast implants and they always want them touching. You know, that's what people are looking for. They're nice, perky, and together. No one likes it when one is up over here and one's down there. We've all seen this before. Perhaps you haven't. I have. One is 3 inches higher than the other. It's bowling out. You're doing your curls. One pops out between your armpit. It's not a pretty sight. And so there's nothing it can do. That's based on your chest cavity. And so the surgeon looks at where the muscles attach, and if it's attached somewhat to the side, they can't get the breast any closer. And so imagine you're a female and your muscles are over here, and they put an implant. The closest it can get is over there. And so you're going to have an implant over here like that. It's going to get in the way. Nothing you can do. If you have a chest like mine and you get implants and it's very close to the middle, notice how close my chest is. You can get the breast implant a lot closer, and so it's going to have a much better finished look. And so what can this guy do? He can continue to train and stop being a baby. He has a great physique. He's very lean. He has wide shoulders. He has a lot of muscle. And you're only really going to notice this when you're flexing. When you're relaxed, which is 99.9% of the time. How often do you think I'm doing this? How often, really? You're literally just standing there, and most of the time, probably 99%, you're going to have your shirt on. And so no one's going to see that. You're just going to see the thickness. Does the guy have a chest or not? It's like smash or pass. You're going to do it or you're not. You have a good chest, you either do or you don't. And so it's not as if he doesn't have a great chest just because his chest doesn't start at the center. Case in point, if he had posted this post and said, "Hey guys, I hate my chest. What can I do to build it?" People would say, "What's wrong with your chest? It looks great." And so he's literally flexing to the side. And so other than straight on flexing and showing that he has that gap, no one's going to notice it. Walking around the beach, relax, people are just going to say, "Hey, look at his physique. Does he have abs a little bit? Yes or no? Is he in shape? Yes or no? Smash or pass?" They're going to say smash. And so don't worry and don't be upset if you have a chest gap. Yeah, on a bodybuilding stage, it's not going to be as good as if it was perfect, but it's okay. Everyone has a weakness. Any advice on how to close this would be awesome. The rest of my chest I think is pretty good, but my entire inner chest basically doesn't exist. Am I being too hard on myself? And he's 5'10", 160 pounds, and he's 18 years of age. Been working out consistently for about a year. I mean, you guys have just great physiques. You're 18 years of age, only a year of training, and yet they're complaining. But I get it. We always want to be better. No matter what you'd have, you'd be finding a weakness. If you had a perfect chest, you'd be saying, "Hey, what's wrong with my quads?" If you had perfect quads, say, "What's wrong with my calves?" You don't. Unfortunately, just train chest and it will be thicker. So he's saying, "Yep, I know it's all about time and consistency, but are there any good exercise to target inner chest specifically?" You can't target nothing. If the chest is inserted here, you can't build there. There's nothing you can do. You can't move that attachment over. It's impossible. You can't do it. If you could, Chris Bumstead by now would have biceps like Coach Greg. They would come out further, but he can't. He's doing his best. It makes no difference. They get bigger, but you can't make it longer. Guys, do I have gynecomastia? Swipe for more. I feel like it's one of those Instagram reels. Follow for more tips. And so the first thing I want to address is that if you think you have gyno, that it's a maybe, that you probably do. Most cases, the answer is yes. If you think you have gyno, you probably have gyno. But the easiest way to tell, more so than looking at your photos, is to actually pinch under your nipples. Feel. feel for something hard. If there is a lump, something hard, a tissue, and you can move around it, if it feels like there's perhaps something like a grape, a hard grape underneath, pinch around, feel it. If you feel that, that is gyno. Gyno is tissue that is formed. It's from a gland. If it's fat, it's going to be just soft, and it's not going to feel like there's something hard underneath. It's going to be a consistent texture, let's call it. And so you're feeling your chest under your nipple, and remember, it's okay. You're allowed to massage yourself to find out what it is. Don't do it in front of anyone. They'll think you're weird, though. And so you're feeling something, and if there's something hard, it's gyno. And can you reverse it? You can a little bit. If you just started taking performance-enhancing drugs and you notice it and you stop, it could in fact go away. It takes a while for this tissue to get harder and to form and to become permanent. And so there are things you could do. You could take, for example, Nolvadex. You could take Clomid. You could take Femra. There's several things that can help alleviate this problem. But once it's formed and it's hard, it's probably going to be there for good. Depending on how big it is, you might need a microsurgery or even a major surgery. But remember, it's kind of like an iceberg. What you see is the tip of the iceberg. What's underneath is a lot worse. And so if you feel a little bit, if you notice it a little bit, there's probably 10 times more than you think that's hiding underneath. And so what the doctors are going to do, they're going to cut right around your nipple, right around here. They're going to open you up and they're going to remove probably 90% of the gland. They're not going to take out everything because they don't want to have an inversion. They don't want it to look inwards. I don't know if it's concave or convex. I get those two mixed up all the time. But you're going to see a little hole in the inside. And so there's leaving a little bit there. Now remember, if they don't take enough out, it could in fact come back again. And so in looking at your photos in the first one, I can't see that it's gyno. But what I can see is close to 30% body fat. And so the number one thing I would suggest to find out for sure, aside from feeling your nipple, is to lose some body fat. Guys, if you're overweight, obese, morbidly obese, you're going to automatically look like you have some boobs. It's going to be some extra fat. The more fat a woman has, the bigger her chest is going to be. And so women who are overweight, for example, it's much easier to have a D cup than if you're a female doing bikini competitions. How many bikini competitors do you think have D cups when they're sub 15% body fat? Almost none. For the most part, they'll have an A or B cup, a lot of loose skin. It look like when you're playing pool, the pockets of pool, it hangs down and there's kind of like a ball at the end after you shoot it in. Kind of looks like that. It's hanging down. They've lost 50 pounds and so there's a lot of loose skin, extra skin. And so just like when you lose a lot of weight anywhere, you're going to have a lot of loose skin. And so women who are, for example, 250 pounds, they diet down to 120 pounds, be a lot of loose skin. It can go down a lot. And oftentimes they'll get surgeries, a breast augmentation surgery, and they'll cut out a lot of loose skin, cut straight down here, pull the skin together, sew it back up, remove 4 inches of skin, and do the same thing this way. And all of a sudden you have breasts that resemble what they were when you were perhaps 18 years of age. On the second photo, he's flexing, perhaps getting close to 30% body fat. Doesn't look too bad here. Has some form of gyno. It does look like a little bit of gyno, but really not too bad. The biggest test is when your hands are over your head. If you have your hands over your head and you can see something starting to hang or something popping through, that's going to be a sign of gyno. If you don't want people to notice you have gyno, keep your arms down. It's going to be very difficult to tell unless you have it very, very bad. And in the third photo, it does look like he does have some gyno, but of course, if he dropped his body fat a little bit, it would perhaps look a lot better. And on the final slide, it does, in fact, yes, appear to be some gyno. That is exactly what I would be looking for. However, you have to pinch and feel to be sure. One thing you might not know is that body fat can actually cover the actual gyno. When you're fatter, you have more body fat, it's covering that hard tissue. And so when you get very lean, single-digit body fat, you start flexing, you're going to notice that hard tissue. You may not have noticed in your off-season, it's not gyno, it's probably just body fat. It's probably gyno. But once you strip down that body fat, you see what's underneath. And so the only solution really is surgery. Perhaps it's going to cost between $3,000 and $5,000 USD to get this completely fixed if it's both sides. It's not cheap, but hey, you asked for it. You're not natural. And by guessing, if you're asking if this is in fact gyno, you're probably not natural. Because if you never touched anything, you had this appearance, you probably would have gone to your doctor and said, well, what's going on here? I don't understand how this could happen. But somebody who uses performance-enhancing drugs, and I do believe almost anyone who uses them knows they might get gyno. And so you're probably using performance-enhancing drugs, noticed this change in your chest and thought, is this gyno or is this from bulking? I increased my body fat a little bit. Is this just from bulking? And so the answer is, if you think it's gyno, it's probably gyno. And if you're looking to stay natural and not get gyno, then I'd suggest some of these. GO2 Max for improved cardio, Turk Builder for increased aggression at the gym, train harder than last time, build more muscle, Ecti Builder to build more muscle, less side effects. This one, some people report not being able to sleep as well, also increase appetite for some. There's a host of things. Watch my other videos, and if you think this is snake oil, then I can't wait till you hear your friends talk about it. You don't need to buy it. We can hardly keep it in the stores regardless. I'm telling you it works. I wouldn't lie. It works for me. It's amazing. I can't believe it's natural, but it is. But remember, it doesn't shut down your HPTA. It won't cause your nut sack to shrink down. It's not going to fail any drug test whatsoever. It's on the WADA's watch list, but that means you're just watching it. They haven't got a test to detect it. They're not ready. It's not banned. And so use code Greg, 15% off for any of my top supplements. And also, if you don't want any of this, remember we have good old creatine. It's been studied, thousands of studies. It's great. It works. It's 50% off. And so head over to my website, code Greg, 15% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Watch one of those 2 bloops. Don't forget about the free diet and training programs. That's right. It's free, up to 50 pages in length. You can get that on my website. Become one of the 300,000 plus newsletter subscribers. Don't forget about the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book, the coaching plans by me and my team, and the phone consults. And until next time, I am out.